All right, it's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on the front page of Nigeria newspapers, and Olamide as well as Nelson are standing by. Good morning, Nelson. Good morning, Olamide.
Good morning, Veronica. Good morning, Ibrahim.
Right. Good morning, Veronica. Good morning, Ibrahim. Veronica, we're almost pairing this morning.
In your looks, right?
Good morning.
Yes.
Good morning.
So what are the papers saying this morning?
Right.
Oh, a lot on politics. You know, the game of 2027, I think the drums is really out now. All the political gladiators are throwing in the balls from left, right, center. So that and economy and
Of course.
Olamide and Veronica, something very strong on taxation, which we want to talk about this morning and how that affects Nigerians.
All right, you can take it away then.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the newspaper review segment right here on TVC. Let's begin quickly with the Nation newspaper, which is dealing on politics. We see here 2027. Ganduje fires back at El Rufai for attacking Tinubu. Again, the conversations around different political parties, Mide, when I look at this, I'm wondering what is going on there.
Well, like we said, we should be expecting things like this ahead of 2027. But from what we see here, I mean, there are a lot of, placeholders who are standing in.
I like that word. You borrowed, the editing word. I like
who
that.
are standing in for, orders. We'll see a lot of that ahead of the election. But of course, it's a game of politics. There are no friends. There are no enemies. So, I mean, this statement is not one that should, really surprise you, because, I mean, all the papers tomorrow we'll see something like that.
Indeed. And at the top name place right there, again, of the Nation newspaper, we see payment of new fee on ATM card use begins on March 1st. We'll look into this a little bit later because, man, all right. Emirates Air Peace Sign Pact to link 13 Nigerian cities. Some good news there, and of course, the picture of the Minister of Aviation, Keyamo, is right there, gleeing as the man who is in charge of the sector at the moment. And something again at the bottom, 32.8 billion naira given as loans to 169,000 students. Okay, this is quoting the information minister. But I'll let it there for the Nation newspaper.
And very quickly, let's go to the Blueprint newspaper. And of course, it's starting with the politics. Ganduje to Northerners, drop your 2027 ambition for Tinubu's second term. Says Renewed Hope agenda working. Northern Youth Forum promises 5 million votes. I mean, it's a democracy. You really can't ask anyone not to, have their intentions known ahead of the election to also vote. But then if they see that this administration is providing the dividends, of course, to them, then they should also, work together. On the top of the newspaper, INEC to security agencies replicate the Ondo fate in Anambra FCT order polls. Another story here, that's on the bottom of the Blueprint newspaper. With Nigeria now Africa's investment destination, 2025 is the year of consolidation. Amen. That's the federal government, quoting like that. And finally, on the Blueprint, reps query NIS 10-year unaudited report. Senate shocked at 3,907 missing police rifles. That is quite worrisome.
Indeed.
But that's what we have on the Blueprint newspaper this morning.
And the Tribune is the next paper we'll be looking at. Again, something on politics, but we've taken that. Let's look at something else at the top nameplate of the Tribune newspaper. Customs suspends implementation of 4% FOB levy. Remember yesterday, I think you said or the day before yesterday, we took that story when the House of Reps and a few other Nigerians were calling for customs to shut, should I borrow the word of politics now, perish that thought. And that has happened. Reps want immediate halt of proposed hike in telecoms tariffs. All right. Nigerians to pay more for withdrawals as CBN increases ATM transaction fees. What happened? Was it trying to hold our breath on that? Right? But there's something at the right corner of the Nigerian Tribune here. Nigeria ranked 36th most corrupt country globally in 2024. What are the parameters?
That's a big question to ask.
To make us arrive at that number. And quoting Erifai here, I won't go on exile despite plans to arrest, detain me. Again, 2027 in the offing, but that will be it for the Tribune newspaper.
And the New Telegraph newspaper, there is a good news here. Federal government ends 1.08 trillion naira from non-oil export processing charges. Well, another story here says SMS price increases to 6 naira as telcos implement 50% tariff hike. And Nigeria ranked 140th of 180 in 2024 corruption index. Nelson, I think that is answering, the question about the parameters by which this, was arrived about. Federal government sets up National Anti-Corruption Strategy Committee as a response to this. Now, that's the major story on the front page of the New Telegraph this morning.
Let's quickly get to the Punch newspaper. And at the bottom nameplate of the Punch, something a bit different there. INEC strategizes to tackle vote buying during Anambra governorship polls. Yeah, something indeed that should be nipped in the bud before it even begins. Senate grills IG over 178,459 missing guns, alleged contract splitting. All right. Tension as police occupy Osun local government secretariats over chairman's tenure. We're seeing rivers playing right here in Osun State. And Makinde, APC trade words over UCH power crisis. A lot is happening, but that would be it for the Punch this morning.
And to this Nigerian newspaper, this Nigeria is reporting something, quite different from what we see on other papers. On the top right of this Nigeria, 67% of schools operate as exam magic centers, says assessment ethic marshals.
Wait a minute.
I mean, we discussed this while taking a look at these papers this morning, and everyone is also trying their best to show that their schools are probably the best. They have good students. And so I will not say that this is, entirely wrong.
But the word magic, I mean, if it said best centers, or how do I say it, centers where people, students excel, but that word magic,
I think
that means that there's something underneath, that's not straightforward now.
Well, we will say engineering, some of them, supporting, let's use that word.
If that supporting is in the right way, I mean, for instance, extra classes, tutorials, and
magic.
So on and forth.
We both know what we're talking about.
All right.
And then another story here says, Wike sets up committee to tackle influx of Marjorie in the FCT. I think this is, good news. There is a committee to tackle the influx of Marjorie. Children out of school, these children also have to, be taken care of irrespective of their background. But that's the major story on this Nigeria.
And the Daily Independent is our next paper this morning. Again, something on taxation. Reps ask FG to suspend telecom tariff hike, say it's insensitive. All right, now, this is why. MTN increases data tariff by up to 200%, released new pricing structure for IGB, or 1 GB, 4 GB and others. Price hike sparks concern among subscribers. But if we go to the bottom nameplate of the Daily Independent here, we see the story we've been trying to dodge all this while. POS operators may hike charges as CBN increases ATM transaction fees. Olamide, you were talking about this a bit earlier. If the ATMs are increasing the fees, I mean, the already statutory fees that we all pay for ATM maintenance.
But
so,
not as high as what we are seeing now. I think it's about 100 naira, apart from the surcharge. There is the surcharge of 500 naira
so
also.
which other charges are we talking about here now that they want to increase?
No, we are talking about the current charge now is going to 100 naira for every 20,000 naira for customers that are using other ATMs for other banks.
So, for instance, I'm using this particular bank, but then I go to another ATM belonging to another bank.
Before that, there was the free 3-month period where you can, you know, access other banks, you know, ATMs. But now you cannot, whether you have the 3 months time frame or not. You have to pay 100 naira per 20,000 naira.
Does this not now, you know, make business a bit more lucrative for POS operators, which at the end of the day adds more financial burden on Nigerians for using that?
Well, remember that we've also been talking about these POS operators and their influence as to, you know, the flow of cash. Sometimes people go to, you know, the banks and do not access cash, but we still see these POS operators getting as much as they can. So, of course, this is going to increase the charges.
All right. And just one more before we let off the Independent this morning. Kayamo canvasses relaxed UAE visa policy for Nigerians as Nigeria and UAE sign amended air travel pact for reciprocal rights. That's where we leave it for the Daily Independent.
And on the first newspaper, customs bows to pressure, halt 4% import fee after backlash. There is another story here. It says that's according to the Zamfara governor, who says, I will never negotiate with bandits. Zamfara governor, well, declares. But there is another worrisome story here. Missing 3,900 AK-47s. Senate demands answers from the police. I think they should find these rifles to ensure that, you know, we need help. This cannot be in the public.
I don't understand how.
Why do we have 3,900 AK-47?
This
know.
Now, before a uniform officer, you know, gets a gun, it's assigned. It's sort of like that's
those guns
illegally
are
assigned
registered.
property, you know, again.
And so if we have about 3,000 missing, where are they? You need to check your neighbors. Corps members beaten to death in Plateau, 2 arrested. That's a sad one there.
Really
but I
sad.
think we'll also see that on another paper. But that's all we have on the first news.
The Platform Times is our next paper this morning, beginning with that story you just let out right now. Hoodlums beat at the top nameplate, beat NYSC Corps member to death in Plateau. When we checked up this story, we found out that hoodlums invaded a particular stadium.
Community, right.
Yeah. And that's how the young man, you know, fell under that. But that shouldn't have been the case in the first place. But there's something else that is a little bit worrying here. EFCC arraigns man for refusing to accept Naira as legal tender. Reports show that he is a jeweler. In other words, he sells jewelries. And so he insisted, instead of paying Naira for that product, he wanted $5,700, you know, for that. This is some of the reasons why the Naira does not have the strength, because if we are trading, you know, dollars in a Naira economy, how do you expect the Naira to be strong?
I mean, I think this should also cut across. It's not just, you know, those selling gold and all of that. We see other vendors who also saying that they want to, you know, deal in dollars in Nigeria where we have the legal tender. This is a crime. I think people should know about that.
Indeed. And the header right here, neglected to death, how Ogun rural communities struggle without basic health care. A conversation that we need to look into, but that'll be it for the Platform Times.
And to Nigerian News Direct, amidst increased operational costs, CBN ends free ATM withdrawals at other banks. Nigeria leading African energy revolution with local content. That's according to Lupobiri, announces African Energy Bank as financing game changer. El-Rufai arrest rumors. I have no plans to go on self-exile. Dangote Refinery announces reduction in diesel price by 55 naira to 1,020 naira. Well, that's it on Nigerian News Direct.
And the Sporting Life is our final paper this morning. A little bit on sports right here. Arsenal, Man City monitor Dele Bashiru. It sort of like we're in the season where, you know, players are being transferred, bought here and there. So all club sides are monitoring who we can take into our bags. And so that's what's going on right there. Man United may sign Lukman Osimhen. All right. Good news for them, I guess. Meanwhile, Osimhen is eyeing Juventus. So who brings bigger money is where he's going to go to. And Salah closes to leaving Liverpool. Oh, this would be a sad one for them because Mo Salah is one of the global stars we have in the world right now. But that would be it for the Sporting Life.